homosexuality is a way of life that I've grown accustomed to, and then that statement was retracted. I mean, obviously, you got, I think, death threats once that happened as well, when you...
I'm a kid at heart. It's not unusual to be gay.
Johnny Mathis, the man behind 73 Billboard charting albums and dozens of gold and platinum hits, continues to be a beloved figure in music. For over 6 decades, his smooth vocals and powerful delivery have mesmerized audiences. In this video, we'll delve into the life of this musical giant, tracing his path from humble beginnings to overcoming career-threatening setbacks. Get ready for the unforgettable saga of Johnny Mathis. Early life, Johnny Mathis, the man, the myth, the legend. There are very few people throughout history who have left an impact as big as Johnny Mathis on the music industry. At the peak of his career, Johnny Mathis was not just one of the best-selling artists in the world, but also one of the most beloved. But his journey was fraught with challenges of all kinds, many of which he learned to overcome with the help of his loving parents, especially his father. His background was lowly and humble, a stark contrast to the level of influence and affluence he has been able to build throughout the course of his life. Born on September 30th, 1935, Mathis was the fourth of 7 children born to Clem Mathis and Mildred Boyd. Although he is African American, he has also stated that he has Native American ancestry tracing from his mother's side. His parents, who were both domestic cooks, saw the embers of greatness in this young boy, and they weren't afraid to invest in him. By the time Mathis was 5 years old, the family moved to San Francisco, settling down on 32nd Avenue in the Richmond district, a place that would hold many sweet memories for this future superstar, although he didn't really know it yet. After realizing that his son was a musical maverick, Clem Mathis, who had previously worked in vaudeville as a singer and pianist, went out of his way to purchase an old upright piano for Mathis. The piano cost about $25 at the time, which is somewhere around $416 in today's money. But the story goes even further. After purchasing the piano and taking it home, Mathis's father realized that the piano would not fit through their door. This posed a significant challenge, but the man had an ingenious plan in mind. Although it was quite stressful to achieve, he took the piano apart limb by limb. He then packed it in and reassembled it once it was back in the house. This story exemplifies the solid belief that Mathis's father had in him and his musical career. From this point forward, he encouraged Mathis to grow, learn and develop the skills necessary to make his career a success. He also began learning new songs and routines from his dad, building the intricate skills that eventually took him to the top of the charts and into the hearts of every one of his fans. He also started performing for visitors at home, singing and dancing in school, and at some church functions. But it wasn't until Mathis turned 13 that his music career began to take shape. It was at this point that he met voice teacher Connie Cox, who accepted him as her student. As a means of payment, Mathis worked around the house, taking care of simple chores while developing his vocal prowess. For 6 years, Cox took Mathis through the basics of music, teaching him skills like vocal scales and exercises, voice production, and classical and operatic singing. Up until this point in his story, most of Mathis's singing had been with his unrefined yet melodic voice, but as he continued to sharpen his skills, many began to notice the exceptional talent he possessed. In high school, he sang with his first band, which was formed by his high school friend Merle Saunders. Later, in 2008, Mathis lauded Saunders for giving him the first chance as a singer, thanking him for the opportunity to showcase his budding talents. But in spite of this growing passion for music, Mathis did not wane in his academic endeavors. By learning to balance his musical pursuits with his schooling, Mathis was able to gain mastery of his time, standing out in the classroom as much as he did on the stage. What might come as a surprise to you was the fact that Mathis was also a star athlete at George Washington High School in San Francisco, where he had his high school education. At this time, he was a high jumper and hurdler, and he also excelled on the basketball team. He was so good that in 1954, he obtained a GED and an athletic scholarship to enroll at the San Francisco State College, where he also continued to compete in both basketball and track. At this time, his intention was to become a physical education teacher, unaware of what the universe had in store for him. While he was studying at the San Francisco State College, he set a high jump record of 6.512 Up until the time of making this video, the record still remains one of the top jump heights in the college. Even more remarkable is the fact that the jump height was only 3 in short of the 1952 Olympic record of 6.812. This was proof of the level of excellence at which this man operated. Even outside of music, he continued to dazzle audiences with his athletic performances. His remarkable accomplishments were immortalized in 1957 when he appeared in the sports section of the San Francisco Chronicle alongside future NBA star Bill Russell, as they both demonstrated their high-jumping skills. But his journey into athleticism would soon lead to something entirely different, an adventure that made him a global superstar, even till the big break. After several years of prepping himself and honing his skills to near perfection, it was now time for Mathis to shine, and his big break would eventually come on what appeared to be a normal day. While performing at a Sunday afternoon jam session with a friend's jazz sextet at the Black Hawk Club in San Francisco, one of the people present was more fascinated by his musical prowess than the others. The club's co-founder, Helen Noga, was blown away by how such a young man could command such a presence, delivering every note deliberately and with such power and passion. It was so beautiful to watch, and she couldn't just let such an opportunity slide. After the performance, Noga approached Mathis and eventually became his music manager. She found him a gig singing weekends at Anne's 440 Club. Things were looking up, but they were just about to get even better. In September 1955, Mother Luck shone her bright light at Mathis after Noga found out that George Avakian, head of popular music A&R at Columbia Records, was vacationing near San Francisco. Sensing a golden opportunity to take Mathis's career to the next level, she placed several calls to Avakian, trying to persuade him to come and hear Mathis at the 440 Club. Eventually, he gave in and decided to come see what the hype was all about for himself. He wasn't disappointed. After hearing Mathis sing, Avakian couldn't hold his excitement and quickly sent a telegram to the record company, stating that he had found a phenomenal 19-year-old boy who he believed could go all the way. As all of this was going on, another opportunity came calling that could have distracted Mathis from his music career, and maybe we may never have known him the way we do today. By 1956, Mathis had become a notable high jumper, famous for his remarkable performance on the track, so he was asked to try out for the United States Olympic team that would travel to Melbourne, Australia later that year. This was a critical moment in his life, and he knew whatever decision he made would determine the course the rest of his life would take. After seeking advice from his father, who he has always regarded as one of the people who hold the most influence over his life, he decided to embark on a professional singing career instead of venturing into athletics. It was a tough decision, but eventually it paid off. Early days. Mathis's first record album was titled Johnny Mathis, A New Sound in Popular Song, and indeed it was a new sound. However, the jazz album didn't exactly do as well as anticipated, and sales were really slow. Regardless of the outcome, Mathis decided to stay in New York and began singing in nightclubs. By the time he released his second album, all hands were on deck to make sure it was a smashing success. The record was produced by the legendary Mitch Miller himself, record producer and vice president of Columbia Records. With Miller's help, Mathis was able to define his sound. Miller believed that Mathis sounded better when he sang soft, romantic ballads. To achieve the perfect symphony, he paired Mathis up with conductor and music arranger Ray Conniff. Later, he also got to work with the likes of Ray Ellis, Glenn Osser, and of course Robert Mersey. In late 1956, Mathis went back to the studio to record two of his most popular songs, Wonderful Wonderful and It's Not For Me To Say. But that wasn't the end. In the same year, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer signed Mathis up to sing the latter song in the movie Lizzie, which was released in 1957. Finally, things were looking up, but the universe still had more in store for Mathis, and they were just about to unfold. In June 1957, the budding musician appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show, where he captivated the audience with his thrilling performance, further increasing his popularity. Later that same year, Mathis released Chances Are, which eventually became his second single to sell 1 million copies. This was a huge deal for the superstar with humble beginnings, as it represented the fulfillment of a long-held dream. Then, in November 1957, Mathis released another hit, Wild is the Wind, which was featured in the film of the same name and got nominated for the Academy Awards for Best Original Song. This man was raking in achievements and wins every day, and truth be told, he deserved every single bit of it. He also got to perform the nominated song at the Academy Awards ceremony in March 1958, further captivating a wider range of audience and cementing his legacy as one of the greatest ever to do it. But before the Academy Awards came, Mathis had one more trick up his sleeves. This was the release of his compilation album, Johnny's Greatest Hits. This album did so well that it spent a staggering 490 consecutive weeks in the Billboard 200 album charts. That's about 9 1/2 years, to give you a perspective on how great this work of art was. It was even able to spend 3 weeks at number 1, further exemplifying the level of hold his music had on the audience. The album held the record for the most weeks spent on the top Billboard 200 albums in the United States for 15 straight years, until it was eventually dethroned in October 1983 by Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon. The following year, Mathis made his second movie appearance for 20th Century Fox, when he performed A Certain Smile in the film of the same title. Again, this song was nominated for the Academy Awards for Best Original Song. By the end of 1958, Mathis was set to earn up to $1 million a year. The critics referred to him as the Velvet Voice, his voice serenading everyone who heard it. In 1962, Ebony magazine listed him as one of the 30 to 35 millionaires on the list of America's 100 richest Negroes, a huge accomplishment at the time. Helen Noga controversy. Since the beginning of Johnny Mathis's professional music career, Helen Noga, the woman who helped him secure one of the biggest deals of his life, had been at the helm of his affairs. She was his manager and so directed the course of his career. But in October 1964, Mathis sued Noga to render their management agreement void. Of course, Noga didn't take this sitting down, and in December 1964, she filed a counterclaim in an attempt to maintain her grip over Mathis's career. But the law went Mathis's way, and he was finally free from the agreements with his former benefactor. Following their split, Mathis established his own record label, which he named John Mathis Records. On May 11, 1967, the label was incorporated in California and was responsible for producing his recordings. Then, on September 30, 1964, before he also established Roan Productions to handle his concerts, showroom, theatre, television appearances, and all his promotional and charitable activities. This time around, he chose a new manager, Ray Horn, who helped guide Mathis's career until his death in September 1984. More achievements. In the early 1970s, Mathis began to experience a slight decline in his popularity. The advent of bands like the Beatles kept his adult contemporary recordings out of the pop singles charts. But this wasn't going to be the case for too long. Towards the end of the 1970s, Mathis experienced a massive comeback which saw him reclaim the throne that had previously been snatched from him. In 1976, he had the #1 Christmas single in the United Kingdom with his hit track, When a Child is Born. This was the beginning of a massive turnaround that absolutely revamped his career. Then, in 1978, Mathis was cooped up in the studio with Denise Williams, and together they recorded Too Much, Too Little, Too Late. Fans of the musician will remember this track with adoring memories. The lyrics of the song, as well as the music, were arranged by none other than Nat Kipner and John McIntyre Valenti. The song was eventually released as a single in 1978, and it immediately skyrocketed to the pinnacle of musical excellence. Too Much, Too Little, Too Late was able to secure the #1 spot on the US Billboard Hot 100. It also went #9 on the Canadian Singles Chart and #3 on the UK Singles Chart. Mathis was having the time of his life. His music was pulling massive waves, and his fans adored him more and more. The hit song also topped the US R&B and adult contemporary charts, making it one of Mathis's most successful releases. As a crown of glory, Too Much, Too Little, Too Late was certified gold and silver in the United States and the United Kingdom. At the time, It was his first #1 hit single since the 1957 release of Chances Are. Riding on the success of this track, Johnny Mathis and Denise Williams decided to release a follow-up duet, which was their version of You're All I Need to Get By, which peaked at number 47 on the Billboard Hot 100. Then in 1983, the duo were also credited with performing the theme song for American television sitcom Family Ties from the second season onwards. Following the success of these duets, Mathis was inspired to record some of his most iconic duets with a variety of female singers. This included Natalie Cole, Gladys Knight, Nana Mouskouri, Stephanie Lawrence, and Jane Oliver. But the Denise Williams magic was incomparable, and in 1995, a compilation album titled Too Much, Too Little, Too Late was released by Sony Music, featuring the track of the same title, along with other songs by Mathis and Williams. Of the many, many achievements this man is known for, his duets are some of the most memorable of them all. The symphony between Mathis and the female musicians was absolutely incredible, putting the fans on the edge of their seats. Between 1980 to 1981, Mathis recorded an album titled I Love My Lady with Bernard Edwards from Chic, along with Nile Rodgers. The album remained in its entirety until 2017, when it appeared in the 68-disc collection titled The Voice of Romance, the Columbia Original Album Collection. Then in 2007, Mathis returned to winning ways when The Very Best of Johnny Mathis, an album released by Sony BMG, found a spot on the British Top 30 album chart. Then he reappeared on the chart again in 2008 with the release of the CD A Night to Remember. Then again in 2011 with the release of the Ultimate Collection. Throughout this period, Johnny Mathis continued to perform live, although from the early 2000s forward, he limited his concert performances to between 50 to 60 per year. One remarkable thing to note about Mathis, though, while other pop singers travel with a band, this iconic superstar prefers to travel with his own orchestra and is one of the very last pop stars keeping that culture alive. One of his latest achievements was, on January 14, 2016, when he performed to a sold-out audience in the Villages. This was a part of his special 60th anniversary concert tour, and saw some of his die-hard fans teaming out to relish in the musical goodness of one of the greatest showmen. Beyond the glitz and glam of the celebrity scene, Johnny Mathis is a remarkable man. Although his story is plagued by a couple of mishaps, even though he declined the chance to be an Olympic athlete, Mathis was able to manage his enthusiasm for sports, apart from being an incredible singer. He also excels in golf with 9 holes in ones to prove how good he really is. As a matter of fact, his interest in golf runs so deep that he has hosted several Johnny Mathis golf tournaments, both in the United States and the United Kingdom. This charity tournament has been running since 1985 and is sponsored by Shell Corporation. Staying true to his track and field roots, Mathis also hosts an invitational track and field meet at the San Francisco State University, an event that has been running since 1982. When he is not tearing up tunes or dazzling everyone on the tracks, Johnny Mathis loves to cook. As surprising as this may sound, Mathis is actually a really good cook. His interest in food is so deep that in 1982 he published a cookbook he titled Cooking for You Alone. But there's a part of this man's story that doesn't get much publicity, and for good reasons. At a point in his life, the pressures of fame and fortune weighed heavily on his heart, driving him into the arms of alcohol and drug addiction. But before he crossed the Rubicon, he made the critical decision to undergo rehabilitation for both alcohol and prescription drug addictions. After a series of therapeutic sessions, he was able to overcome his demons and has since become an advocate for spreading awareness on drug abuse, sexuality, and controversies. Back in 1982, when the world wasn't as accepting as it is today, Mathis found himself in the middle of a controversy concerning his supposed sexuality. In an interview with Us magazine, he had stated that homosexuality was a way of life he had come to grow accustomed to. Although the comment was meant to be off the record, the magazine decided to create a stormy discussion around Mathis's private life, setting him up for public scrutiny. Following the publication, many people tried to get Mathis's comment on his sexuality. However, He remained tight-lipped about his private affairs and refused to publicly discuss his sexual orientation for many years. It wasn't until 2006 that he revealed the real reason behind his silence. In the interview, Mathis revealed that he had received death threats following the release of the magazine. This, of course, made him scared for his life, and so he decided to keep it all to himself. Although that didn't dissuade him from sticking with his chosen identity, from this time on, he began to open up about his sexual orientation. In a podcast with The Strip, Mathis spoke on the subject, revealing that his hesitancy to talk about the subject was partly generational. He explained this further during another interview with CBS News Sunday Morning on May 14, 2017, confirming that he was gay. According to him, where he came from, it wasn't a problem to be homosexual. His coming out was not to satisfy the press, who were always looking for a negative opinion about him to latch onto. Instead, it stemmed from a deep yearning in his own heart to show the world exactly who he is, without fear of judgment. Throughout the course of his life, Johnny Mathis has enjoyed everything good that life offers, but he has also had his fair share of the bad and the terrible. In November 2015, Mathis had just returned home from a concert when he found his Hollywood home destroyed by a fire. The house he had lived in for over 50 years was engulfed in flames, and he lost everything. This was a devastating blow for Mathis, who had spent decades accumulating memories within those walls. But like the phoenix from the ashes, Mathis rose again and began the process of rebuilding his home and his life. But even though he had faced many challenges, nothing could compare to the tragedy that struck in 2017. In September of that year, Mathis was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. The disease, which is known for its low survival rates, shook Mathis to his core. But instead of giving up, he decided to fight. He underwent surgery and began chemotherapy, determined to beat the odds and continue doing what he loves most, singing. And so, even in the face of adversity, Johnny Mathis endures. His voice, though weathered by time, remains as powerful as ever. His spirit, though tested, remains unbroken. And his legacy, though challenged, remains untouched. Johnny Mathis is more than just a singer. He is a symbol of hope, a beacon of light in the dark, a reminder that no matter what life throws at you, you can always rise again. And so, as we reflect on the life and career of this incredible man, let us remember not just his music, but the lessons he has taught us. Let us remember his strength, his resilience, his unwavering dedication to his craft. Let us remember Johnny Mathis, the man who gave us so much and asked for so little in return. Awards and honors. To date, Johnny Mathis remains one of the most successful music artists in America, and his long list of awards and honors stands as testament to that fact. In 2003, Mathis was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences. This special award was presented to performers who have made outstanding contributions to the music industry in their lifetime. Other notable icons who have been awarded this prestigious honor include Nile Rodgers, Ann Wilson, Nirvana, Santana, Pepper, Iggy Pop, and Black Sabbath, to name a few. On 3 separate occasions, Mathis has been inducted into the Grammys Hall of Fame, first in 1998 with the record Chances Are, then in 2002 with Misty, and finally in 2008 with It's Not For Me To Say. But his award case isn't just filled with the Golden Gramophone. This iconic symbol of musical excellence also amassed a couple of other awards and honors. On June 21, 2014, Johnny Mathis was inducted into the Great American Songbook Hall of Fame. This honor was granted to him alongside other musicians like Linda Ronstadt, Shirley Jones, and Nat King Cole. This was to celebrate his remarkable achievement in creating the soundtrack of America. One of the most remarkable achievements for any Hollywood superstar is a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. On June 1, 1972, Mathis was awarded his own star for his contributions to the music industry. This was a momentous occasion which cemented his legacy as an unforgettable artist in his own right. 6 years later, in 1978, Mathis's duet with Jane Oliver, The Last Time I Felt Like This, was nominated for Best Original Song at the Oscars. The song was the soundtrack for the movie Same Time Next Year. For the second time in his rich career, Mathis performed at the Oscars, along with his duet partner, Oliver. In 2006, Mathis was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Society of Singers. Then, in 2007, he became an inductee of the Hit Parade Hall of Fame. In 1988, he also appeared as a guest vocalist to sing Henry Mancini's theme to the Viewer Mail segment on Late Night with David Letterman. In 2011, Johnny Mathis received the Golden Plate Award from the American Academy of Achievement, which was presented by General Colin Powell, a council member of the awards committee. Due to the fact that Mathis had decided to pursue his music career in 1956, he couldn't complete his degree, so in 2017, the San Francisco State University awarded him an honorary doctorate degree in fine arts. Although his life has been far from perfect, Mathis has enjoyed considerable success in his career. He is often regarded as having one of the longest tenures of any recording artist with Columbia Records, a record he shares with the likes of Bob Dylan, Barbra Streisand, Tony Bennett, Billy Joel, and Bruce Springsteen. He once had 5 albums in the Billboard charts at the same time, an achievement that has only been equaled by Frank Sinatra, Barry Manilow, and Prince. Throughout his career, Mathis has released 200 singles, with 71 of them charting across the globe. He served as a narrator for the 2014 documentary 51 Dons, which explored the integrated and undefeated San Francisco Dons football team of 1951. He also appeared in the season 14 finale of Criminal Minds, where he played himself as an old friend of David Rossi and also served as his best man at his wedding. He has 12 television specials to his name and has made over 300 television appearances in his lifetime. In the words of tonight's show host Johnny Carson, Johnny Mathis is the best ballad singer in the world. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.